then the second winter that I worked in the mine, I was working. First winter I worked with my brother Bernard. He's the one that was killed in the war. Mm-hmm. And then the second winter I worked in the high coal with Uncle Dick.
So what?
And, it was a 7 to 9 foot seam of coal, a lot higher.
What year was it?
One day we had a brand new fresh cut. There had been caprock about that thick. It was between the roof and the coal. There's caprock, and this time we had the shot, and that caprock stayed up there. So I thought, well, if we put props underneath it, we could keep it and save it, because it would come up and mix, and you had to pick it out of the coal. Mm-hmm. You couldn't load it. So I was working on the left side of the car and shoveling in to get back into that. They brought the cars in, and I was just shoveling away to get into that. And Uncle Dick, instead of doing the same thing on his side, he got to monkeying up in the face, monkeying with his pick. Mm-hmm. And we got what they call a bounce. Now a bounce is caused, you're way down deep in the ground, way down deep in the ground. And with all that weight that's on that coal, at least a little movement on it will cause it to bounce. It'll grow a hole, it just starts getting out of little fine coal until it gets a whole bunch of big. And then that gives a place for it to break to, and tons of coal just shoots out. Yeah. And that's what happened to me. And it buried me. And then let that caprock down, and that was on top of me too. And of course it knocked me out. When I come to, I was laying, the floor was as level as this floor here. And my face, I was in a little ball, and my face was in the floor with just like this. My hard helmet was laying off to one side, smashed, and my lamp was on it, and it was smashed flat. And I was like that, and all that rock and stuff on top of my head, and I had this a cut here on the head, and a big bump on the back of my head. And I could hear a voice. I come to, and I could hear a voice way up, but I couldn't move. Couldn't move a muscle. And I just laid there, and I tell you, I was scared, because I thought I was dead. That voice was Uncle Dick calling out to me. And he couldn't lift that rock and that coal off of me. It was too heavy. So I went in the next room and got them two brothers that was in there. Their name was Skinner. And the three of them dug me out. And I was buried there for about an hour.
What year was that?
That was in 1936.
Was that the same year you got the guitar, or the year after? So
same
30.
Year I bought the guitar.
36, you bought the guitar.
1936.
All right.
And they took me out of the mine down to the hospital, and the doctor examined me and patched up my head here and put something on the back of that big bump I had in my head. And said, well, you're okay. So I went to the company store and got me another helmet, and I was back to work the next day. But I had a headache, really bad headache. It lasted for months. And I know I had concussion, see, that jaw on my head. It sure put me down. Yeah. I liked working in there. It was warm. It would be blizzard outside. Wind cold, and the snow and wind blowing and that. But down in there, it was warm as toast. Yeah. In fact, I used to strip down. I had big overalls on, and I'd take my shirt off and my sweater and everything, and just have my underwear on, and these big overalls. Yeah. And that's how I'd work. And when I get time to go and have lunch, you take your lunch in the lunch bucket. Where's he at?
Oh, up there.
Right?
We right in it.
Couldn't
We took the
you
kids in there one time, didn't we, Rob?
Yeah, I think so. I remember it.
About the only time we ever took him to a restaurant.
No, we were just talking about today.
This little lunch bucket had, the bottom part of it was full. I was getting ready to go back out to the mine. She was working just in the winter, get laid off in the spring. And then I'd go work construction work in the summer, building dams and roads and that.
I'll tell him about you getting your hip, that tree falling on you now.
Well, that was after I got out of the Army. I went to work for the Forest Service. It was a good job, I tell you. I loved that job. Right up in the forest all week long. And then we come home one weekend, and they moved us, our crew, over cutting timber. They were making a right-of-way, building the road into some new timber. And so they moved us over there, helping with that. And they had a chainsaw, a two-man chainsaw, for 2 men to run it. And I was working with another fellow on that chainsaw, and the big boss that we had finally said, well, here, you go and smoke for a while, and I'll change you off. Well, we'd left 2 trees, big pine trees, like this, but on the ground, those 2 trees were together. But it was right on the line, so we'd left it. Me and the other fellow went past, we thought, well, it didn't have to come out. Well, this boss, and then the first thing they'd done is talk that saw into them, those 2 trees. Her brother was up working there with us, Allie, working up on the top of the bunch. And I had my double bit axe, sharp as a razor. I was carrying that and walking away, and I watched them. I thought they were just cutting one of those trees. But they just salted in and was cutting them both, and they didn't notch them, nothing. Just let them fall where they wanted to fall. So I thought they were just cutting one. I watched them, and one fell uphill, and I turned my back and walking away. I had that axe right in my hand here. And her brother called out, "Look out!" I turned my foot there, and there was a tree swinging on the stump, coming right at me, that big pine tree. Well, I made a flying leap to get out of the way of it, and boy, it hit me. And come down on there, the limbs and that scratched my neck and my back. But the blow of the thing hit me right across the hip, the small of the back. And I was pinned right to the ground with that big tree on me. Well, the boss come running in, and well, come on, get up, and there I couldn't move. So the crew got a hold of the tree and lifted it up and took it downhill so I could be clear of it. And he said, "Well, come on, get up." And I said, "I can't get up." And he says, "Oh, yes, you can." And he put his arms underneath my shoulders and stood me right up on my feet. Now, if my back had been just cracked, he'd killed me, I think. But the pain was way beyond anything you can imagine. That pain in that hip and in my back, down that leg. And so I called him some terrible names, and they laid me down. Laid me down there. And I was there for, I guess, over an hour. I laid there while they brought a car up, one of the guys' cars. We were way up in the mountain. And they come and they got that, and my brother and Almy and them put me in the back seat of this car. It was a 4-door sedan, 2-seat. And I got in there, and we was all day long coming down out of the mountain. And we finally arrived in Duchesne. The doctor was out of town.
Was there even a doctor?
Huh?
Was there even a doctor?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Klein or else who was the other doctor?
Murray? No.
Dr. Murray.
No, it'd probably be Hamilton.
Huh?
Dr. Hamilton.
No.
No, that was after Dr. Murray.
Mm.
It was Dr. Hamilton.
And I think that it was Dr. Klein.
No, it was way after Dr. Klein's time. It was Dr. Hamilton. He's the one that...
Anyway, he was out of town, so they took me to the druggist, and he gave me a shot to ease the pain. How did they get that? Went up and got you, didn't they? Because you rode with me down to the
Yeah, I went with you down there.
hospital. They took me and rode back to the hospital. They called ahead and said, "You're bringing a man down who's been hurt." Well, when I got down there, they wouldn't let me in the hospital because that damn doctor wasn't there. He hadn't showed up. Doctor, I didn't think I'd ever forget his doctor.
Either.
Anyway, they finally took me in the hospital and gave me some more shots. And, boy, I was out of my head. Painful, and it just felt like my hip was on fire. I thought I was laying on a burning log. On maneuvers. This is after the war broke out. See, I was in the Army almost a year before the war broke out. And the shoulder halves that they have, each soldier has a shoulder half. And you can put two of them together, make a two-man tent, or you can put four of them together and a four-man tent. They all button together. And so there were four of us in this tent. And I had filled the water bag the night before out of the water truck and laid it against the tent because it gets cool, real cool at night there on that desert. So I laid the water bag against the tent, and I woke up the next morning real early and I was thirsty, and I pulled myself out back like this and I reached around the tent this way to pat and to get that water bag to get me a drink, and apparently someone had taken the drink out of it and moved it down further. So I pulled myself out of my sleeping bag and looked around, and here my hand was at that far from a great big diamondback rattlesnake. He was curled up against that water bag, and I was just missing him.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you. Well, we had excitement for a while. Usually those snakes were in pairs. They had everybody up and looking, and they found the mate to it.
Killed them both.
Huh?
I said they killed them both.
Yeah, they killed them both.
You know, I always thought your grandfather was like a cat. He had 9 lives. Well, he's gone through 3 cats already. I don't know how many more cats he's going to go through.
How did you guys meet? What's the story?
Well, when I first saw him, he was in school.
Yeah.
He was Mary Wilson's brother, and he looked like Pete Everett. In fact, I couldn't tell him from Pete Everett.
Who's Pete Everett?
Well, he was a
Oh, he was a
terrible
kid.
guy.
Yeah. Did she have a crush on Pete Everett?
No, I didn't have a crush on Pete Everett. I didn't get a crush on him until he got in the Army.
Well, how old were you when
In the uniform.
How old were you when you met him?
Oh, I was probably 21. He was probably 24. Well, the first time I did go with him, or went to his birthday party. He was going to end the service. It was in January. He had his birthday, and he had a friend named, and he was a friend of mine too, Zelma and Jean, and they were going to the birthday party. So Jean came down and wanted to know if I wanted to go to this birthday party up to Bob Belt's. Of course, at the time I knew him when he looked like Pete Everett as Bob Wilkes, and I don't know if I even remembered his name, but anyway, I went up there and he had a birthday party, and there was just Jean and Zelma and I and you and your mother and dad, I guess. So that was my first event with him.
Yeah.
Or was that the first one? No, I think that the first one was,
When we went swimming,
no, we didn't go
down by
swimming.
Mitchell's.
We didn't go swimming. We went on a chicory.
What's a chicory?
They talked about,
You
well,
steal the chickens,
then you go cook them.
clean them, and then cook them.
And he had this old, it was supposed to be like a van, what was it?
It was a baby truck.
And so anyway, they tried to get you to go swimming, but I wouldn't go swimming. I don't know if you went swimming, right?
Yeah, I did.
And of course they didn't have any bathing suits.
Yeah. They went in the nude.
No,
I guess they did. It was dark. I couldn't see.
I had a pair of old overalls
Oh, you did?
on. Yeah.
Well, I didn't have anything to swim in. But anyway, then he took me, I lived with my aunt, and he took me home. And, we had fried potatoes too. And he couldn't go walk with me to the door because he's afraid that if he stopped this old truck, it wouldn't, he couldn't start it again. So I had to get out and go to the door myself. That was the first thing. And the second was the birthday party. And Gene came down and I was working at the drugstore, and he came and wanted to know if I wanted to go up to this birthday party, and so I went. And he went off to the Army then after that. And I never did see him anymore till he came home from a furlough. Well, at that time I broke off with a boyfriend. I didn't have a boyfriend. And my friend we were working there, and there's big windows there, and he went by, and Dorothy said, "Hey, there's your boyfriend, go catch him." So I did, and he was standing there talking to somebody, and his legs were straight out, and I went up behind him and
Knocked his legs out. That's what I would do too.
that got him.
Wasn't that tricky?
Yeah, maybe you did take me home from that dance before that. I believe you did. We was up to a strawberry chair dance, and have come him and Velma and Jean. And I was playing the piano at the time. I can play the chords. And so then he came and asked me to dance, and they wanted to know if I wanted to go for a ride. So I turned the piano over to Aunt Betty, and I took off with him and Velma and Jean. I don't know where we went in that old truck of Jean's. So that was another event.
Was that the time when went down and had that chicory down in town?
No, that wasn't the time.
Chicory.
That was.
Oh,
that was.
that was long after we was married.
No. Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, one time we went to play for this wedding dance, and I had your dad and Aunt Shannon and Bonnie. Of course, I could never go because I was the only 10 kids. So my Uncle Helmy was with him, and they went up and he went to play for this dance. So I happened to wake up, I guess, in the night, and he wasn't home, and I thought, where in the world was he? And I'm worried for fear he'd been in an accident. You know how I'm worried. Well, finally here come Uncle Helmy home, and he was kind of stewed, if you know what stewed is.
Drunk?
And I said, where's Bob? He said, oh, don't worry, he's all right, he's all right. I said, well, where is he? Well, he's all right, just don't worry about it, don't worry. I said, where is he? Oh, he's down there to a chicory. Where?
How long ago was this?
Oh, this was after we was married. Your dad was, Bonnie was a baby even.
Yeah.
So, he's probably about 3 years old or so.
How long did you guys know each other before you got married?
Oh, well,
Well, we knew of us one another.
didn't know much about him, except he was around town.
See, my younger life, I went by the name of Wilson, my stepdad's name.
Yeah.
And they used to tell me that when my mother first married him, that he adopted me. And I thought that was true. I thought that was so, but it wasn't. He didn't adopt me.
Well, I gotta finish this chicken
All right, go
story.
ahead.
I thought,
Interrupted.
oh, I'm gonna have some fun. He's down there having chicken. So I just got up out of bed and got dressed and walked down there and and I kind of laughing on the way down, thinking, I'm gonna really scare him. Opened the door, and there he was sitting by this gal, ready to eat this chicken. And I said, you get home.
Get to
And boy, he dropped that chicken, got up, and went home.
I come trailing right out of there, boy, right quick.
But this little gal happened to be a hot little number, too.
Yeah, but I wasn't with her at all.
Well, I didn't know that. You were sitting with her eating.
Well,
Oh, and I know who you
see,
were.
the reason that they had to talk me into go down and have that chicken, because I went up and played for the dance.
And I didn't know that. Oh, I
Okay,
didn't
but-
say to the dance.
They were just giving me that chicken to pay for me playing for the dance. And
That was about 4 o'clock in the morning by then.
so,
So you'd worry, wouldn't you? If your kid was out that late. If your husband, your wife was out that late. Sitting there eating chicken with some floozy. Oh, it wouldn't be a floozy if it was your wife. It'd be something else. No, that's not mine.
No, it is.
Oh, this is the other one.
I remember this one.
oh,
I remember one time you said I look like Buddy.
When you get right, when this thing is running out, that silver guitar, it
Oh,
really
that doesn't
doesn't.
matter with me.
No, you said that people resemble their pets. And you said that I look like Buddy.
Oh, that. That's what they claim. You'll see people that look like their dog, especially if they got a bulldog, they're a bulldog.